Let's go to Al Sharpton now. The reason why I'm covering Al Sharpton is because Al Sharpton is one of the Seiko salesmen of the Democratic Party. And I think in order to bring down the Democratic Party, which is a mission of mine, I want everybody to know who watches my content, I don't have a lot of goals here, other than to tell you the truth. It's the raw truth Black America deserves. We deserve it. It's important. Because Al ain't gonna give it to you. MSNBC ain't gonna give it to you. Al has been lying and gaslighting Black Americans for so long. I gotta expose him. Now, on MLK Day, he gave this big speech. I'm not gonna spend that much time on it, but this clip is a little bit of him telling whoppers and misleading you. So let's play it.
And later people around the world, if we discipline our dollars, we would make folk understand they have to respect us and regard us. Donald Trump just said in his inaugural address that he is going to end DEI this week. He's going to put out his executive orders. You have all these corporations that are saying they're going to back up off DEI. And why do we have DEI? We had DEI because you denied us diversity. You denied us equity. You denied us inclusion. DEI was a remedy to the racial institutional bigotry practiced in academia and in these corporations. Now you want to put us back in the back of the bus. We gonna do the Dr. King Rosa Parks on you. We gonna call you out one by one, and we gonna shut you down.
Okay. So what Reverend Al is talking about is a bunch of nonsense. Maybe once upon a time, before they actually implemented affirmative action, MLK was asking for this. He was championing diversity. But when he was talking about diversity, he was primarily talking about Black Americans. That's who MLK was primarily championing for. I think we can all agree. When he was doing the bus boycotts, it was about Black Americans, right? So on one hand, Reverend Al, he name drops MLK in the bus boycott. Then on the other hand, he's talking about DEI. And DEI is not Black people. DEI, once again, for anybody who doesn't know, DEI is diversity. And there are eight or nine different groups of categories of diversity. Black is but one of the 8 or 9 groups. So when you are championing for DEI, you're not championing for Black Americans. Anybody who's walking around talking about diversity is not just talking about Black people. He's talking about Black people and Latino Americans and Asian Americans and Jewish Americans and Hindu Americans and disabled Americans and veteran Americans and women and trans, and like all those groups are what make up diversity. Do you understand? My beef with Sharpton is simple. Stop using Black people as weapons to try to get stuff for people that aren't Black people. Stop it. We end up with nothing and we get all the blame for these programs and we don't get the benefits of these programs. So let's stop the programs. Why should Black people be upset about programs that go away that didn't primarily benefit us anyway? I want to know. It's like these new kids, man. These new kids, disease, or my 16-year-old son don't go outside that often. Every once in a while, it's like, Dad, can I go outside? I'm like, sure, man, go ahead. Where you going? Okay, fine, okay. But if I grounded him for a week, he'd be like, I wasn't going out anyway. I can still play the game, I can still buy, still be on my computer. Yeah, okay. That's how black people should be about DEI. You should be like my 16-year-old son is when I say I'm gonna ground him and he can't go out. You should be like, oh, okay, fine. I was staying in anyway. Is the Wi-Fi working? We good. That's how we should be. Instead of being gaslit and emotional over what the hell Al Sharpton's talking about. But it's worse than that. DEI uses, in order to make it effective, because you can't make an argument for DEI using LGBTQ groups. You know why? Because LGBT groups include white people too. So it's really not a good argument because a lot of LGBT people have good money. They're not struggling. They're not hurt. They're not on the bottom of anything. Anybody could be LGBTQ, even rich people, well-to-do people. Doesn't matter, from all walks of life. That's an orientation. If you're Latino American, you're from Venezuela, if you're from wherever you're from outside the country, you don't have the same currency because you have a country you can go back to. Why would we be obligated to give you anything in America if you could go back to your country? Now, I know there's issues with America's colonization and all that stuff. That's a different argument. That's not an argument for black Americans to even have. We can't even fix this shit with us yet. My point is this. All of this that's been done that has America so divided, in my opinion, is done through the catalyst of people like Al Sharpton weaponizing blackness, using our struggle, our history, to try to help everybody else, to try to benefit other groups. All because I believe there's a bunch of kickbacks in it. There's a bunch of money in it. And none of that money comes to us. It goes to those people running those organizations. Just like BLM mostly benefited the people that were running BLM. I open my mailbox every day, like Chris Rock says. I look and I don't see my BLM check. That's the same way DEI works. That makes sense for you? You get it? So Reverend Al can take his DEI on MLK Day. This asshole's up here arguing for black people to boycott Walmart, Amazon, all these companies, Facebook, all these companies, and I'm fine, boycott them. I don't give a shit. But don't use us to do it. Don't say it's because DEI. Say, hey, we'll boycott them because they don't have enough black Americans. That would make sense to black Americans. But for you to say, we should boycott them because everybody else, come on, everybody else. Hey, everybody. Everybody. We look around and it's just us doing like this. And ain't nobody there but us. I want to say 90% of the people that had the dog sick on them was black. Stop telling me. Stop telling me this is about everybody else. How is it going to be about everybody else when they have the Asian Exclusion Act that didn't even have Asians really in the country like that? I mean, please give me a break. So that's my point. That's why I wanted to cover Al. It ain't sexy, but it's true. It may hurt your feelings, but that's the raw truth black Americans deserve to hear. When they talk about DEI, they ain't talking about us. Just pretend someone's talking about synchronized swimming. It don't have a goddamn thing to do with you. When they start talking that DEI mess, pretend they're talking about Beverly Hills 90210, some shit like that, okay? Because it don't have nothing to do with you. When they start talking about DEI, pretend they're talking about Tommy Lauren, Ben Shapiro. They're not talking about black Americans when they talk about DEI. They're talking about all these other people. And they're just using you as the springboard. There you go. Give it up for that. Give it up for that. I said it, I'm not taking it back. Ralph Rodriguez. I'm not going to get baited, Ralph. You're not taking anything, Ralph. Migrants aren't taking our jobs. They're giving them our jobs. Nobody takes a job, Mr. Rodriguez. It sounds like you don't care about that. But I bet if Latino Americans were 40% of the homeless rate, or if 50% of homeless families were Latino, or whatever you are, Mr. Rodriguez, you might care a little bit more. 50% of homeless families are Black Americans. Entire families of Black Americans are on the streets. That's got to be my concern, brother. If my name was Tim Rodriguez or Tim Brown, and I was fighting for you, you would want me to focus on that, wouldn't you? Yeah, kind of wear the shoe the other way. Like, put on my shoe. Black Americans are at the top of every list that's bad at the top, and at the bottom of everything that's good at the bottom. And we got to fight. We got to change that. Okay? And if that's been happening while we've been having this immigration, that's a good reason for me to want to change it, isn't it? You understand? It ain't hate. It's not hate. It's being reasonable, realistic. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you for being here.